you will see these belong back there in that cabinet that has the eye chart on it back there. And there's one more like this, so there's 4 of these. You will see at least 3 of these in the lab practical. In other words, I'll have like an arrow pointing to something with a number and asking you what it is. Okay? So along with the cell models, you'll see these models and then microscopes. Okay? So looking at the top of page 14, it's the basic structure of the skin, dermis, epidermis. Under their histology, you can see the slide numbers that you need to look at, 13-3, 13-4, and 12-19. Next is epidermis, and you can see basically those are the 5 layers of thick skin. And running through those, this one here, model, this would be epidermis right here. Okay? You see it kind of separates on this model. From there to where the yellow is dermis, and then the yellow is hypodermis or subcutaneous. Okay? Like that. Now, if you look real close at the base of this epidermis here, there's like a little red line running along this very base right here. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the little red line there? You know? Yeah. So that's the deepest layer of the epidermis, that little red line right there, running along there. Okay? That would be that first layer, stratum germinatum or stratum basale. Okay? Make sure when you answer the question on these in the lab practical, you put the word stratum down. If you just put basale, you're going to get half of it wrong. Okay? So, next layer would be this right in here. All that in there, and that's stratum spinosum. Okay? Right in there, stratum spinosum. Okay? Stratum spinosum. Okay? Now, this model's wrong. If you look at the next layer, it's kind of white, and then there's a dark layer above it. It should be reversed. It should go dark and then white. It's just how they make this model. So this model's kind of messed up. So just ignore that white layer, and the dark layer would be stratum granulosum. Stratum granulosum, right there, the dark layer. Okay. And then finally, the pink layer on top would be the most superficial layer. And what's that? Stratum corneum. Stratum corneum. So really, just ignore that stratum lucidum on this one. It really doesn't show up. I mean, they've got it reversed. Okay, and that's confusing to people. So on this model, those would be those stratums. Now the dermis here has 2 parts to it. Down at the bottom, you see number 1 papillary layer, and then over on the next page, number 2 reticular layer. So the papillary layer is just right underneath the epidermis where these blood vessels are. And so that's the papillary dermis right there. Papillary dermis, okay? And the reticular dermis would be all the rest of that up into the yellow. So that's all reticular dermis. Okay? So papillary, reticular. Now under papillary, if you look at that, the second bullet point is dermal papilla. Remember, those are the little humps here, the dermal papilla. Remember I showed you in lecture today? Dermal papilla. Now, if you look back up all the way under epidermis, that first layer, stratum germinatum, the last bullet point, epidermal ridges, you see that there? That would be the valleys. So on the epidermis, this valley, which is a ridge because of, there it is, there's a ridge when it's upside down, see? So that would be the epidermal ridge, each of those, okay? Now, back over reticular layer, in this area here, there's several structures here. Here are the hair follicles. You can see those pretty good, okay? And emptying into the hair follicles are glands called sebaceous glands. There's one right there my finger's pointing to, right? Sebaceous glands, okay? This one's kind of in 3D here, okay? The next thing on there is erector pili muscle. See here with my finger right here? The erector pili. That causes the hair to stand up, okay? Erector pili. Piscinium corpuscle. See this thing right here? That green thing? It's deep. It's usually in the deep of the dermis or in the subq. It's the piscinium corpuscle. The other name is laminated corpuscle. It's for deep pressure vibration sense. Okay? sweat gland here with the sweat duct coming up. Okay. I forgot over on papillary layer, the third bullet point, Meissner corpuscle. See this little white thing here? It's up there just underneath the epidermis in the papillary dermis.
Is that a nerve?
It's a nerve. It's for touch. Okay, Meissner corpuscle, right there. You guys all see that? Okay. This little one here, you definitely can see this has thick skin over here. On this side, thin skin here. And so again, that darker blue bottom of the epidermis there, that would be what stratum? Stratum basale. And then the blue part would be spinosum, stratum spinosum. They don't really show a good stratum granulosum, but this white line on the thick skin would be stratum lucidum, right there. The white line on the thick skin. And then the pink on top would be stratum corneum. Yeah. There's your dermal papilla. The little yellows up in here, those would be those Meissner corpuscles in the papillary dermis. Here you can see the hair follicles and the sebaceous glands, sweat glands. Down here is a Pacinian corpuscle, right here. Same thing with this model, just a little bit different. You can definitely see the epidermis if the lower part is purple. At the very bottom of the purple, you can see a little black line, okay, along there, along the bottom of the purple. So that would be the stratum basale. The purple would be the stratum what? Spinosum. And then the red-orange there, that layer right there would be stratum granulosum, the red-orange. Don't really have a stratum lucidum. The rest of the orange would be what? Stratum corneum. And again, you can see a rectopillae muscle here. Okay, hair follicle, sebaceous gland. This green thing down here, Pacinian corpuscle, right there, Pacinian corpuscle. These yellows up in here would be the Meissner corpuscles. Okay. So these models all are a little bit different, each one. As you look down the list on the right, you can read that. Those accessory structures of the skin, sebaceous, apocrine, merocrine glands. We'll talk about those in lecture, okay? Hair, all those things underneath the hair follicles there, just look at that. I'm not going to be testing you on a model or anything on that, okay? Or even on the slides. So we okay with that?
Does each one of the hair follicles have one of those little muscles?
Yeah, usually.
So you have thousands of them.
Yeah, most of them do. Notice how I use this Q-tip in pointing out the models. They're on either side in little containers. Use these instead of your pens or pencils when you're trying to point stuff out, because the pens or pencils will mark up the models, okay? So let me kind of show you the skin here.